Mabuhay to the 26th Pinoy Pork Challenge. I am Liberato Castro from Nutristar, and I have the privilege to introduce our invited speaker, Dr. Sandor Zsarnoczay, who is an international animal nutrition consultant. Currently, Dr. Sandor is consulting for International Innovation Nutrition in Singapore. Dr. Sandor did his master's in swine nutrition at the Gate University in Hungary. He furthered his studies by completing his Doctor of Philosophy in Swine Production and Medicine at the University of Minnesota, USA. Dr. Sandor has over 20 years of experience as technical manager and nutritionist in various multinational companies such as Provimi, Danisco, Bergen Smith. So without further ado, let us give our attention as Dr. Sandor discusses the topic Empowering Gut Health to Increase Productivity and Immunity Against ASF and Other Diseases.
Dear friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to introduce a solution to a global problem that affects all of us today. The presentation that I'd like to convey to you today is Empowering Gut Health to Increase Productivity and Immunity Against ASF and Other Diseases. There are many sources of yeasts on the market today. However, very few are fully integratedly produced. In fact, there are very little number of companies that can do this properly. One such company is Bee Origin, as we say in Europe, and we consider Bee Origin as a technological leadership position and also application pioneer. And I'm proudly associated with their Singaporean representation. As you can see on the slide, Bee Origin is a big company, part of the large group of companies, and fully owner-operated. They have manufacturing sites in the US, Brazil, and Europe. Their excellence, an excellent producer of a special indicated yeast product that has been discovered by the Professor Jan Ra, a Norwegian scientist who discovered the correct beta-1316 glucan structure and discovers its applications and potential usages that we are enjoying today. Why this is unique? Unique because the beta-1316 glucans initiate a special immune response when fed to animals. In fact, we also as human beings can enjoy the benefits of such a product. And again, thanks to the pioneering work of Professor Jan Ra, these beta-1316 glucans are only found in the cell walls of Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and the extraction process that Bee Origin is focusing on is a patented process. As a biochemical structures concerned, the different yeasts have different structures, different originated beta-glucan structures of different living organisms. For instance, bacteria have linear beta-1,3 glucans chains, but these are unbranched. Mushrooms, however, have the 1,3 glucan structure chain with a very short 1,6 linked glucan side chains. On the same token, cereals like oats, their linear 1,3 glucan chain is polluted with a 1,4 linked glucan side chains and polymers. And ultimately the yeast, which Professor Jan Ra indicated have the right linear 1,3 glucan chains with long side chains of 1,3 linked glucans. In their paper, the best immune modulation was achieved with the 1,316 beta glucans originating from yeast, and as he determined, the ability of beta glucans to activate in the innate immune system depends on its branched structure. The discovered immune modulation depends, again, on the branch structure of 1316 glucans, and it is still about macrophage activation. So how does it happen? The right chain length and structure of the branching are the necessity prerequisites to make it happen. As you can see on the right hand side of the slide, the manufacturing capabilities of BioOrigin enables the essential chemical structure to guarantee the response on the cell wall structure that is served as a key as fitting into the indicated receptors called TLR2/6 and CR3 of the following cells on the right hand side: macrophages, granulocytes, NK cells, neutrophils, and dendritic cells. How does the beta-glucan do work? Well, when the beta-glucan attaches itself to the macrophage, which is having the right receptor for it, it's kind of activating it. And the excited macrophage is then increasing its seek out and neutralization mode to find pathogens, and as a result, the released signaling molecules further activate other constituents of the immune system to eradicate the threats. Now, the place that it is happening is the gastrointestinal tract, which has the largest surface area in our bodies, including farmed animals. The intestinal health, as we determine today, is crucial for not only survival but productivity. And when the specific beta-1316 glucans are present in the food and feed, the place of action is taking place actually in the small intestine in a region called Peyer's patches, which are technically lymphoid follicles in the mucous membrane that line the small intestine wall. These lymphoid follicles are part of the lymphatic system, and in terms of activities and working similar to lymph nodes. Now, the macrophages, which are not only indicated on this nice graph, but also present not in the underlying tissues, but also in the gut lumen. And that is how the beta-glucans in the feed presence are enabling the activation. So that is one of the explanations how MOS products do work in the gut level, and why the beta-1316 glucan is the best solution for achieving the desired intestinal health. Well, according to this graph, that is the colleague of Professor Jan Ra achieved the benefits of phagocyte activation, and when he graphed the response to different beta-glucan fractions, the best response in terms of phagocyte activation was achieved from the beta-1316 glucans originating from Saccharomyces cerevisiae common yeast. Once we go all these troubles to extract with a specific technology the properly branched and properly structured yeast cell wall structure, we want not only improve mortality, but also, in other words, we want to improve survival rate. And looking at the graph here in the function of elapsed time, seems like the beta-1316 glucans achieved the lowest mortality and the highest survival rate. Now we know that the right yeast cell wall structure activates the innate immune system, primarily the macrophages. And we also know that the ASF virus, as the subject of our discussion today, attacks macrophages and proliferates in these macrophages similarly to the effect of PRRS and porcine epidemic diarrhea virus. But once we introduce the beta-1316 glucans into the diet, we do activate the macrophages, get them excited again, and enable them to resist because of the released signaling molecules, so which is enabling the immune system to seek out and to prepare for the invaders and not to be overrun by these viruses. Scientific studies have proven that the beta-1316 glucans are the positive monocytes that are macrophages in motion and cause the elevated phagocytosis can be measured. And thanks to the work of the above researchers, these facts promote the use of such a unique E-cell wall structure product as a feed additive to prepare our farmed animals to build a more robust immune system. So like a roborative effect to withstand both bacterial and viral attacks. Furthermore, when we continue the research analysis of these scientists, when we activate the immune system, especially in the Peyer's patch, we can measure the elevated titers of the IL-2 cytokines that indicate that the immune system is in a higher alert stage, that are stimulated and then can improve the efficacy of the killer cells and the prevention rate. So when it was tested in the laboratory, it was also a need to get practical experience with the product. And when it was tested in Denmark first, at that time the Danish pig industry was struggling with the post-weaning multisystemic wasting syndrome effects, which we all know is a slow and very progressive disease of pigs that have a very serious consequence in terms of productivity and finances of swine farmers. If you look on the left-hand side of the graph, after the inclusion rate of the product at a 250 gram per ton immediately reduced, even in 2 days, the mortality rate, and over a significant time reduced the mortality well below the acceptable levels, and also improved at the same time the daily weight gain and performance of the pigs. So what are the tests in practice? I think this is also important to know that next to Denmark, the neighboring country of Norway was also experiencing similar problems, and when the application was done at the prescribed rate as before, the improvement in post-weaning growth rate was over 10%, 13% on average, and also the corresponding feed conversion was well above 5%, A to B on the exact average rate. Other countries experience similar performance and other benefits. This huge, large Chinese integration started the product usage against porcine epidemic diarrhea virus. And when ASF hit the Chinese pig industry, they had to find a solution. And since vaccine was not an alternative at that time, they started to use the product to test against ASF occurrence. And what happened is, surprisingly, they could immediately enable the farm to survive, because they could reduce significantly the death rate and also the incidence of manifestation of clinical symptoms. So they further investigated the application, and as you can see, in terms of mortality in the presence of the pathogen, they could reduce in 10 days from 9% to 2% mortality, which is amazing in this respect. A similar experience, a series of experiences happened in Vietnam as well. A big farm in the Hanoi region in 2019 started to test the product, and after just above 2 weeks, the mortality compared to control was reduced by 91%, which is amazing. And this is showing that the beta 1316 glucan have merits against lipid and protein-coated viruses. To continue the Vietnamese experience, the product can also be used when the swine farm survives and wants to repopulate the herd on the farm. So we also have a solution rate for that and can achieve, even after depopulation, within a month to restart production at a bit higher elevated rate, over 300 grams per ton. It could be achieved in this farm. And of course, we must continue with the experience obtained in the Philippines. As you can see on this slide, there are 4 different and in non-related cases in the Philippines where the product was tested against ASF. In a big swine operation, the mortality rate was very high, as you see, and even the sows were heavily affected. They lay down and didn't want to eat, so they had to be forced fed by glucose, and the product was added 2 grams per sow. And after 5 days of such a treatment, the sow had recovered because the sow started to stand again, be active, and could eat. So, and also the mortality was stopped. And another 300 sow farm where severe mortality was due to the ASF attack at 300 gram per ton above prevention rate of application. Mortality was reduced and the remaining pigs recovered from the effect of ASF, and now the farm not only survived but thrives in terms of productivity. The third case, where the product was tested in November, since November 2019, the neighboring farms especially have been affected by the ASF viral attacks. The farm itself could maintain its negative status thanks to the higher elevated rate of application. And the fourth case was similar, that the surrounding farms are affected by the ASF occurrence, but thanks to the application of beta 1316 glucans from B origin, could help the farm to remain and maintain its negative status. Now, when we talk about our industry colleagues, there is one such a prominent supporter of the product in the Philippines who has his own veterinary clinic or veterinary business and swine farm, who enjoys not only the preventive supplementation effects of the product, but also he could reduce or remove even other vaccinations and medications as a cost, plus enjoys same productivity or even better productivity and more efficacy from its herd. So what would be the proper application rate? Because we will be talking about preventive rates and also above preventive rates. Well, as you can see on this graph, we usually recommend the preventive range around 200 grams per ton or 250 grams per ton. And when there is a neighboring problem or in the neighborhood, ASF is detected in other farms, we do recommend increase to 300 and even going beyond when even the own farm is affected. It has to be around 350, 400, even 500 grams per ton would be achieved if you want to save the herd. Now, The preventive application rate, what we usually deem as 200 grams per ton, we do understand that it improves performance. But how does it happen? Well, it's all about the stress mitigation as a result of infection or the elevated levels of lipopolysaccharides that promote the inflammatory response at the gut level can be reduced successfully with the equivalent of 200 grams per ton inclusion rate, and by, as you see on the right hand side, the reducing inflammatory cytokines TNF-A alpha results a lower release of cortisol, or in other words stress hormones, that can be turned into or translated into productivity. When you talk about effect on sows, because the piglets born alive and the total born alive are one of those key measurements that the swine farmers are aiming for to improve. And in the presence of preventive application rate, you can see the improvement in total born and born alive piglets. Plus, if you go to the next slide, you can see that the surviving or born alive piglets were even heavier. So during at least late gestation and during lactation, definitely the preventive application level increases the total born and born alive plus the weight gain of the piglets. And later on, when you do weaning, the post-weaning daily weight gain can be further improved by the product, almost up to 400 grams per piglet per day. Now, the nursery piglets also do benefit, and pre-growth period as well. As you look at this slide, it indicates that the maintenance of the advantage over a control group remains, and even further can be widened the gap. So it pays to spend money and input costs on a preventive measure rate. And this is a clear indication that the product works very well. Now, many times when such feed additives are added into the feed, the farmers would like to see the reduction or potentially further complete reduction of scours or diarrhea, in other words. And look at this one, what we had achieved in China by just barely 2 years ago. That's on the large farms, older farms, the application of beta-1316 glucans in nursery piglets completely eradicated the problems of diarrhea, which is a very nice touch, in my opinion. So what does it cost? What is the benefit, the financial benefit and incentive for farmers? Imagine this, as you see on this slide, that at the preventive application rate, the investment per piglet is about, let's say, 50 to 60 Filipino pesos. Now, when you can achieve a better weight, a heavier pig by the growing period on the same feed inputs, then you can realize by the extra weight on the complete weight of the piglets a benefit of 5.5 times in terms of the input versus the profitability of the gain. How does it work? Because we can lower the diarrhea, we have showed it to you. We also can enhance the immune response, which results lower mortality and more resistance to stress, especially when you have a vaccination. And consequently, either you can save days to market or you can have heavier pigs by the end of the growing period. So it's worth investing. And as a summary, I'm very convinced that among from those many products, yeast products or yeast cell products on the market, the B-origin specially extracted patented application resulting the beta-1316 glucan in high concentration is actually a scientifically proven technology to activate the innate immune system. Secondly, it also works in practice. This is also very important. So in practice, working against bacterial and viral infections, including ASF, is a huge plus and also results improved animal performance, obviously. So we'd like to assure you that the preventive application rate of 200 to 300 grams, when it happens, the occurrence of ASF has been proven in several countries and regions on the in the ASEAN countries and China, makes the product highly attractive as a preventive and problem mitigating factor in the daily work of a hog farmer. And at last but not least, I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you want to aim better health status, or you want to address occurring bacterial and especially highly virulent viral diseases, please turn to B-origin and consider the application of beta-1316 glucan for your own protection. And thank you very much for your attention again. All the best.